What's up, everybody? How are you today? I'm going through a bunch of news that I can't believe that I'm still getting. As some of you know that watch my channel, I'm going through the court process right now after being arrested on January 4th, year and a half ago, coming up on a year and a half ago, due to an incident that had to do with me being targeted, me being lied about, part of the slander campaign. So I've been trying to prove since November of 2017, since November of 2017 that I'm a targeted individual, that I go through this psychological operation, and that almost every tactic that these people have, other than them just killing me, has been used on me. There's just so much information here. So what I did, some news came out in the LA Times, Air Force Times, Military Now. There's pages and pages and pages. There's probably 20 pages now of articles on this whole situation. And, well, here, I'm going to play this video. Hopefully we can hear the audio.
Times examined whistleblowers' complaints and other misconduct allegations in the Fresno Air Base that led to a leadership shakeup earlier this month. But a review by the Times found the retaliation claims were more widespread than first thought. LA Times senior investigations editor Jack Leonard joins us now. Hey, Jack, thanks for coming back in.
Thank you.
Okay. Why did the Times launch this investigation, and what did it find?
More widespread than they thought.
A tip that went to Paul Pringle, who's an investigative reporter at the paper, and he followed up. The tip was that there are all these complaints of reprisals within the California Air National Guard. When people saw misconduct and they made a complaint about it, they felt like they were victimized.
Guess what I complained about, everybody? 9/11, chemtrails, all kinds of different stuff, things that were going on at my base, fraud, waste, and abuse. So that would be considered a whistleblower, right? I was a firefighter talking about 9/11. Right after 9/11 happened, after I met a bunch of the firefighters.
Looking into it, he found an incident in which
at this base,
a female guard had arrived at work in Fresno at the
in that hangar,
and had found that somebody had urinated in her boots. She obviously complained about this.
So
there was an investigation. 2 investigations went nowhere.
They're trying to focus on, and this was like the camel that broke the straw that broke the camel's back. Sergeant Danita getting her boots urinated in, it gave them something to grab onto and go, okay, this has been going on. There's so much more than this, but this is part of. I can almost guarantee that she went through more than that. So that probably wasn't her first time, saying, hey, what's going on? Why am I getting my stuff messed with? Why is my computer not working again?
And there were allegations that there was a cover-up.
And was there?
Well, that's an interesting question. There have been investigations still going on into that, but there are some disturbing signs of one. The evidence in the case was destroyed after some of the investigations.
They're showing a picture of General Garrison right now. Looks like he made it to 2-star. He was a 1-star when I left.
That was destroyed.
There have been 3 people who've been ousted, right? From the National Guard in the last month. What are their names?
That's right. The investigation led to the ouster of the head of the California Air National Guard. That's Major General Clay Garrison. It also led to the removal
my old boss.
of the commander in charge of the Fresno base. That's
Clay.
Colonel Dan
No.
Kelly.
There's Dan Kelly. All these guys were F-16 pilots at the time I was a crash fire rescue firefighter and when I was a journalist.
After the Times
So
first did this investigation, a very senior officer, Sikora, I believe, called a meeting and told people that it was un-American to report things like this to your superiors.
Wow.
He said that there were red-blooded Americans, most of the guards, but that some of them weren't, and that they knew
I heard stuff like that.
And that they were, talking to the LA Times, and a lot of people who were listening to this, at least some of the people there, felt like they were being intimidated.
Hoping to have a chilling effect, obviously, right? Well, so there.
Okay, so it's not just being intimidated. Some of us got put through like the FISA court. They said, hey, this guy's a terrorist or whatever they say. But if you go through the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act, Section 702, That's like foreign intelligence. They tried to tell somebody that you were like a foreign spy or some crap like that. And then you have to go through this targeting and try to explain this. So now they talked about people being
Santa Ana
interviewed.
State Senator Tom Umberg, who's decided to write a proposal to
Tuesday.
strengthen the protections for whistleblowers so that you feel like you can go to your superior, report wrongdoing, and not be retaliated against and be protected, right? So they had an...
Okay, this article is on April 23rd, so just a little over, just about 2 weeks ago, people from my base that were targeted interviewed with somebody. I never got a phone call. I never got to go in and give my story. I've called the Inspector General. I just called them a little bit earlier. I've called the LA Times. I've sent them all this evidence that I worked at this base. I have my DD-214. I've got photos. Everything I have is from this base. There's actually on this little flyer that I made here, these are, some of these photos here are Air Force photos documenting some of the, the things that I've taken pictures of. One of these is from the National Archives, and it gives my name, photo credit. Shows Major General Baldwin here, How did these people get interviewed? I never got a phone call. I've been trying to get this out there for 2 years. The LA Times reports on this, and nothing. I feel like the kid that like everybody took off and went to Disneyland. They left him at home. Didn't even tell him they were going anywhere. He gets a phone call like, "Hey, yeah, we're at Disneyland. We'll be back." Watch the house.
Service members this last Tuesday testified about rampant culture of retaliation.
That's right.
And that lives have been ruined because of this, right?
Rampant culture of retaliation and lives have been ruined. Does that sound familiar to anybody that's been watching my shows, my videos, over and over and over, and me complaining about this nonstop? Wouldn't you like to hear me start talking about something else other than how I got screwed over by these people and they spent millions of dollars destroying my life? I'd like to get some closure out of this and try to see what I can do with the rest of my life instead of being locked up for being set up in this targeting program from this base, which is being reported all over the world right now.
The original stories that Paul Pringle and Aline Chekmejian did were focused on the California Air National Guard. But as they delved further, they found that there were allegations of retaliation made by whistleblowers that went well beyond just the Air National Guard, but into the Army.
Yeah, so Air National Guard and Army National Guard are both run in California by basically the Adjutant General, who I'm pretty sure is still Major General Baldwin, who I worked for. I took these photos of him in this. So he's in charge of Army and Air National Guard, and it would be pretty much the same kind of culture all around the entire place. You deploy with each other. You go on TDY together. I went with the Army National Guard, 360 something Army engineers up to Northern California to Operation Lightning Strike to go document them cutting line, helping with the firefighters, stuff like that. I'd work with the Army. That's just one little thing that we did. We did other stuff too. Man. Okay, so I'll just read some of this. Allegations of retaliation against whistleblowers in the California National Guard are more widespread than the complaints made at Fresno Air Base that led to dramatic leadership shakeup of the organization earlier this month. The Times has found interviews with the current and former Guard members and examination of internal documents show that complaints go well beyond Fresno and extend to the Army side as well. The allegations have come from fighter pilots, top military prosecutor, special forces officers, and a colonel who hoped to head the organization, and Mike Barden, who was a firefighter and journalist at this base. Sure would like to be part of this. They allege a pattern of both retaliation against whistleblowers and others who accuse their superiors of misconduct and failure of the Guard's justice system to protect them. When a person blows the whistle on wrongdoing, they face almost a guarantee of retaliation, said Dwight Sterling, a reserve judge advocate who heads the Center for Law and Military Police, and alleges he was targeted for investigation after he reported possible misconduct 5 years ago. It's meant, as in all cases of retaliation, to send a message that if you hold the managers to account, if you bring to light their misconduct, that they're going to make you pay for it. Okay, I might have overshot these guys and went straight to the feds when I was talking about 9/11 right after it happened. And some of the Federal Reserve and different things that were way above my pay grade, but I just kind of saw some things happening before I even really understood all of it. And something just clicked in my head going, you know what, all this stuff doesn't seem to work out. And now all that stuff in my head said, oh, it doesn't seem to work out, is being proven now. Okay, after Time's investigation detailed whistleblower complaints and other misconduct allegations at the 144th Fighter Wing in Fresno, an Inspector General for the California Military Department, which oversees the Air and Army branches of the Guard, found that the culture of reprisal afflicted the wing. Sure would like my job back. The problems led to the recent ouster of the Air Guard's top commander and 2 high-ranking officers at the Fresno base. The department also directed the Air Guard's new commander to put together climate assessments of the wing leadership. In the wake of the Times reporting, State Senator Tom Umberg, Democrat, Santa Ana, has proposed stronger protections for whistleblowers in the Guard, something he had tried to do more than a decade ago, without success, well in the state assembly. A bill Umberg introduced in February would require the military department's inspector general to report to the governor instead of the adjutant general who leads the organization. Ooh, that's good, especially if that would be Governor Nunes, 22nd District. His office said, Umberg, a retired U.S. Army colonel, is also pushing to include a provision that would allow whistleblowers to sue for economic damages. That sounds pretty damn good to me. So, hopefully I don't have to do that from prison. Hopefully I can get this figured out before, it's too late. Maybe that's why they want me to go away, because this is what I would like to do. I'd like to be indemnified. I'm almost completely tapped out. I would have owned a piece of property and had my business running by now. I had like a tractor and like a bunch of, randoms. I wouldn't be on YouTube making these videos. I'd be living my life, which I don't even, about that much left of it. I'm certainly troubled by the acts that I've read about, Umberg said. As a career military officer, it's anti-ethical to the culture of the military, which demands respect for all military members. A hearing on the bill is scheduled for Tuesday. Where was I? Someone urinated in a female sergeant's boots. Now the California Air National Guard faces cover-up allegations. The military department could not provide complete numbers on alleged reprisals in California, so it's difficult to quantify the scope of the problem, including whether it has been growing. The department declined to comment on the multiple reprisal accusations. In all but one of the last 5 years, the numbers of complaints reported to the National Guard Association of California, a nonprofit veterans group which is backing Umberg's bill, has increased or stayed the same, averaging more than a half dozen annually in recent years, and its legislative director, retired Colonel John Haramilis. Man, it almost seems like, by reading these names and the congressman, it almost seems like it's the Democrat side of the Guard base that spoke up, and they were, I'd hate to think that. I don't know. Hey, whoever's doing the right thing, I could care less. Right, left, otherwise. Doing the right thing is most important here. Going back in history, I'm not going to get into politics too much right now. I'm just going to talk about what happened at this base. I was part of it. His review of them shows the allegations routinely are given a cursory investigation, if any, then swept under the rug, he said. Haramilis, who said he once interviewed with then Governor Jerry Brown to lead the military department, had its own experience with making a reprisal complaint. He alleges that the head of the military department, Major General David S. Baldwin, again, that guy, here, pictures I took, improperly blocked him from transferring to another state to prevent him from promoting. When Haramelis complained, he said Baldwin questioned senior officers at the National Guard Bureau for negative information to use against him. Inspectors General for the Department of Defense and each military service are responsible for investigating misconduct and whistleblower complaints. You either get no investigation or a sham investigation, said Haramelis, who spent more than 3 decades in the Guard. The end results are identical. Case closed with no further action. By shielding Guard senior leadership from any consequences of their actions, the IG has become the enabler of the very misconduct they were supposed to address. The system has completely collapsed. I concur. And what they do, some of the senior leadership and people that are above them, giving them their orders basically for their mission, some of those people had been corrupt with some of these government contracts, which involved some USAPs, I believe, unacknowledged special access programs. And God, what's that, Lewis? This is just yeah, I'm sorry, I just drew a blank there. Basically, yeah, they're doing it. Wow, that was a tough one. These people that are infiltrating the military, when you whistleblow on them, they put you in whatever program this is, they put you on the naughty list, and basically all of the people that know about this program will infiltrate you, and they will fish, try to troll you in. You have no idea this is going on, into negative looking situations, and then they will document that and then start to show kind of a history. You have no idea that there's a history being built up about you. You have no idea that all your information is being gathered and that it's going to be used against you to target you, to put you on these different lists and stuff like that. When the entire time, if you were doing the same thing with any of these people that are doing this, if you were documenting every little thing that they were doing, and you could pervert situations that they are in and make it look like a certain thing, like when they take photos of somebody, each side they take a photo of somebody they don't like, on the left, every photo of Nancy Pelosi is beautiful. She's like, I don't want to say beautiful, but just like, good lighting. And then on the right, every photo of her just looks like her face is going to droop off, and vice versa with Donald Trump. On the right is proud, stern, like he is, the photo, and then on the left, it's like he's like pointing at something, or and he looks like he's angry. It's a lot of perceptual manipulation going on like that. So Michael Wise says that what happened in this case, Michael Wise says that what happened in this case, that's what happened in this case. Did I miss a part here? Oh, okay. Yeah, we left off on the system has completely collapsed. So Michael Wise says that's what happened in this case. Wise, a state deputy attorney general, retired from the Guard's Special Forces last year as a colonel and a decorated combat veteran. So right there, Special Forces colonel, they got targeted. That guy's a badass, man. I hope he gets back in, and I hope I do too, and I'd like to work for him. Special Forces colonel. That's badass if you don't know in the military. One more, well, he could be, it just says colonel. Doesn't say lieutenant colonel. So if that's a full bird colonel, one more promotion, you become a general. See, you gonna say that guy's delusional that he got targeted? Special Forces colonel. Tell that to that guy's face. That guy will you wrap his mind around yours before you even think. Okay, Wise and the Major, John Trent, said the Guard accused them of improperly recommending denial of a soldier's request for transfer to another state. which would allow him to avoid a combat deployment overseas. Why isn't Trent filed for Inspector General complaints alleging reprisals? Well, if the guy's been on a bunch of combat deployments, say he went to a few where he's like, wait a minute, what's this? What's going on here? Just saw a bunch of guys get blown up for opium. You might have said something about it. Got Pat Tillman. If you folks don't know the story of Pat Tillman, I'm pretty sure Pat Tillman knew some information. He was killed by friendly fire. All right, it says they dismissed my IG complaint without interviewing my witnesses. Wise said the IG system is, as a whole has been absolutely worthless. Whistleblowers are not tolerated in the Guard. That's the bottom line. Trent said he is still pursuing his case. He said the decision to challenge his superiors ended his chances of promotion to Lieutenant Colonel. Okay, so he was, to Lieutenant Colonel. Even though he's the most senior major in the Guard Special Forces. The last time he applied, Trent said the lesser qualified candidate got the position. Guess who else this happened to? Staff Sergeant Vaughn moved into our office and immediately, like in 2 weeks, got Tech Sergeant. And I could never make it past Staff Sergeant. And they're like, well, there's not an opening in your slot or this or that, you know. And this happens. And they'll do, it's a way to keep you down, even though you excel at your job or you pass all of your tests, you do everything you need to do. They will come up with little reasons, be like, oh, well, you know, you're doing a good job, but you need to work on this little area, this and here, when their areas are just like complete crap, but they look perfect on paper. That's a lot of the ways they weight the system. These GI bureaucrats, there are people that have learned to work their way into the military and stalk and harass people through a system, an organized system. And hopefully, I don't know. Maybe it's gone on the entire time in the military and I just never knew anything about it. I had no clue when I was in. I knew I was getting messed with. Nobody ever told me like, hey, there's this thing we do. Gotta be quiet about it. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I told everybody. I just got targeted and learned by it happening to me. All right, so it says they have a good old boy system in place, and anything that attacks the system, they're going to defend against with all their might, he said. Once they were called on the carpet for that pay issue, they just retaliated against me and attempted to end my career. At the 144th Fighter Wing, at least 5 Guard members, including a pilot who was killed in October, that was Jethro. I used to work with him. He was killed in the Ukraine, Operation something Skies. It used to be Operation Safe Skies in Ukraine. All the guys would go to the Ukraine. I'd get called out to the office. They'd be there for, 2 weeks, a month, something like that. I can't remember how long they'd go. I'd answer the phones at the office and do whatever jobs needed to be done. I also got myself in trouble with my master sergeant, and I think that could be one of the reasons he seeked retaliation. Who was the colonel? Colonel Hearn. He was Major Hearn at the time. So he was running public affairs. He was the PIO. He was the officer. I was the NCOIC of public affairs, non-commissioned officer, basically, at the shop where we did all the work, photos that had the studio and all that stuff. He was down at the office at where the recruiters are, headquarters. My old group. I forgot. I was trying to picture the base. Headquarters. Yeah, they're right down at the end of headquarters. But yeah, Jethro died in that. That was his. All the pilots have like a call sign. The guy that let me know basically that I was going to be walking was Colonel Drake. They called him Drake the Snake. He told me he was. They gave me an opportunity to go back to the fire department. And I said, no, I'd rather be a journalist. And the next thing I knew, it was out of there. So they had at least 5 members. including a pilot who was killed in October in a crash during a training mission in Ukraine, have filed retaliation complaints. Okay, so he filed that complaint and then he was killed in... Jethro filed a complaint. He was killed in the Ukraine. Huh. You guys better not have murdered Jethro. You didn't get caught. I mean, come on. What is it? What? He just happened to be one of the 5, and he's the pilot that died in the Ukraine? I've never seen that guy without a smile on my face. Ever, anytime I ever worked with him. And anybody at the 144th Fighter Wing that knew Jethro is going, oh yeah, you picture his face. I'm sure the picture of his obituary, he's got this big old smile on his face. You know, and that guy, I don't recall ever giving me a hard time, ever messing with me. Not even the like the weird look, you know, like just the... All right, this article. Okay, I'm almost at the end of the article here. So they're focusing on these boots that got peed in, when I'm focusing on Jethro dying in a plane crash in the Ukraine after he filed a complaint. I'm telling you, these people will try to kill you. They've tried to kill me. I've lost track of how many times. I'm not saying everybody at the 144th Fighter Wing. I'm saying once you go into this program, they basically have the ability and the power and the authority to put you into the program, and then it's compartmentalized groups that basically wrap around you right after that and then control your life and manipulate your life. You can't function. They tear apart everything. They want you to be homeless or dead. So, the incident and its aftermath fueled suspicions that high-ranking officers mishandled 2 investigations to find the perpetrator and tried to bury the episode. Yeah, they talked about, I'm sorry, I missed a part here. They were talking about this girl that got her boots urinated in, but they put it after the pilot dies, after he... did Charles Vaughn send this story into the LA Times? To the writers of this article at the LA Times, I hope you watch this. I contacted you. You need to vet me, make sure they're right. Did you get any information from Master Sergeant Charles Vaughn, V-A-U-G-H-A-N, V-A-U-G-H-N? I can't remember how to spell his last name. Anyway, he worked with me. He's the guy that promoted immediately when he walked in the door. After I'd been working there for a while. I bet you did. Let's see here. Or Senior Master Sergeant Chris Judge. He might have retired. He might be out of there, and Charles Vaughn might be in charge of that shop, which is a nightmare for the 144th Fighter Wing. It would not. I mean, he knows how to do his job, but he should not be in that position. I'm going to just tell you this from personal experience. Even if I didn't like the guy, I don't like the guy. He's one of my arch enemies, pretty much. This guy destroyed things that I made. News pieces, documentaries. He destroyed things. Sent me in the wrong direction for meetings. A lot of different things. I bet he's in charge of that place now. Somebody needs to make a lateral move. Okay, Pineda and Lieutenant Colonel Rob Swartfeger, a pilot who spoke up for her, filed complaints. Oh wait, a pilot who spoke up for her? Did Swartfeger get his pilot? Is he flying again? If he is, that would be awesome, because I think he got shanghaied when they took his license away a long time ago. It was part of like a targeting thing. If he got his license back, that's amazing. I hope so. I used to go to lunch with Rob Swartfeger. At Fall 99. I'd go back again, Rob, if I could go into California. Currently, from my targeting, I have this electronic ankle monitor on, and I can't even go back into California if I so choose. Otherwise, it's a felony class 6 here in the state of Arizona. All right, so the Times investigation led to the removal earlier this month of Major General Clay Garrison, again, my former commander, knew my wife since she was a little kid, from the same town. One of the officers that arrested me here from that same little town in California, I think 1,000 miles away. So the top commander of the Air Guard, he was pushed out because of the military department had lost faith, trust, and confidence in his ability to lead. A spokesman said 2 144th commanders, Colonel Dan Kelly and Colonel Victor Sikora, were also ousted. I worked with those guys. A report by the military department's inspector general said that at least the perception. Okay, so now here, just while they bring that part up, the Air Force. Oh, this is the military department's inspector general. So I wonder if so the Air Force inspector general, I don't remember her name. I can picture her face. She's an African American lady. I can't remember her name. Anyway, General Sammy Saeed, who was our base commander before Colonel Clay Garrison, he was brought in to basically get our base laser focused. And he left, and he is now the assistant to the inspector general of the Air Force. He was right there in the middle of this whole thing. I don't know if he was aware of what was going on with that, but yeah, I don't know. I still always liked that guy, even though he was super tough. I'm not intimidated by anybody. That bikers drive by me all the time, gang members and all that stuff. I'm not intimidated. For some reason, that guy was like, I knew he was like connected or something like that, but just the way he was like laser focused, and like, I don't know. Something about that dude. Like he was former Mossad or something like that. I don't know. He was badass. Like if I walked into a dark, he's like a kind of wiry guy like me, but if I walked into a dark alley, he's like nice and calm and focused and everything, and wouldn't lose it. But if I walked into a dark alley and some dudes started walking down the alley towards us, and I was with him, I'd be like, well, all right, we probably might have a chance. All he has to do is look at him. I don't know, anybody that ever worked with General Saeed probably know what I'm talking about. I'd say the vast majority of people who know about wrongdoing don't dare to say a word, Sterling said. They are faced with a conflict of, do they do what's right or blow the whistle? Do they do what's right and blow the whistle, or do they look out for their career and their livelihood? Oh man, you folks know what I did. You folks know what I did, don't you? He enlisted in the Army Guard after September 11th attacks, eventually becoming its head prosecutor. Oh, hey, there's a good way to get targeted. Talk about 9/11. Has anybody heard me talk about this? I'm trying not to be a smartass. I'm just like, I can't believe that there's so much here. Supervisors praised him in evaluations as having limitless potential and being more than a first-rate judge advocate, according to his evaluations. He said that all changed in 2014 when he reported that a handful of military lawyers in the Guard were not licensed to practice law in the state. One had failed the bar exam in California, Sterling said, but later passed it in South Dakota. He was then hired as a judge advocate in the California Guard. That's just blatantly against the rules, Sterling said. He took his complaint to the state bar that year. Within months, he said he was put under a sham investigation. 3 years went by, and before he'd learned the details of the inquiry, which barred him from promotions while it remained open. Yeah, you're not moving anywhere while you have an investigation open under you and you're targeted. And they're not just investigating you, they're infiltrating your life. I don't know to what extent some of these people got put through it, but I'd like to hear some of their stories, and I'd like to hear if they possibly had some cars parked out in front of their house, some people talking about conversations that they, that seemed really similar to the one they were having the day before, those kind of things. Helicopters flying over their house. At specific times. All right, Sterling said he was never given an opportunity to challenge the allegations, which focused on a court-martial where he and his supervisor sought the immediate imprisonment of a soldier convicted of sexual assault. He said the judge who signed off on the incarceration later launched an investigation into Sterling. So they reported sexual assault too? Never was given an opportunity to challenge the allegations, focused on a court-martial where him and his supervisor sought the immediate imprisonment of a soldier convicted of sexual assault. So they're whistleblowing on sexual assault and getting targeted. So there's some really similar things here. Identifying sexual assault and reporting on that, calling out people for not having their credentials, fraud, waste, and abuse. Okay, that's just blatantly against the rules. Sterling said he took his point to the state bar that year. Within months, he said he was just put under a sham investigation. Okay, geez, I already read that part. Sterling said he never was given an opportunity to challenge the allegations, which focused on a court-martial where he and his supervisor sought the immediate imprisonment of a, I keep reading this over and over, of a soldier convicted of sexual assault. He said the judge who signed off on the incarceration later launched an investigation into Sterling and accused him of failing to disclose that case law prohibited the judge from imprisoning the soldier without first getting approval from the commander who convened the court-martial. Sterling said the judge himself should have known about the law but cleared himself of a wrongdoing and blamed Sterling instead. Sterling said he received a career-blunting letter of reprimand. LOR, yeah, those aren't good because they open up your personal file, you get an LOR, you go for a job, somebody didn't get that LOR because they were like, they saw what was going on, they're like, I don't give a shit that the guy doesn't have a license. Doesn't affect my job, when in the long run it does. And then who gets the promotion? The sociopath, the person that could care less actually about their oath to the Constitution and doing their job correctly. So boom, guy that blows the whistle, he gets a LOR, right? For trying to stop some really bad shit. And then the guy that just goes, yeah, promoted at the board 2 years later, promoted because he kept his mouth shut. That's not how things should operate. All right, so it says, I was on the way up. All my evaluations were outstanding, he said. I report the abuse of attorneys who are unlicensed, and the whole trajectory of my career starts to take a tailspin. He filed a whistleblower complaint, he said, but no one investigated it. Wow. Sounds pretty freaking familiar. I should be more professional right now reporting this. My light's all blown out here. End of the day, been working on this stuff all day long. Wrote this letter to my neighbors explaining to them that, you know, this happened because of targeting, not because I'm some creep, whatever they've told you. Please research this information. This is a violation of 18 Code US 241, 242, conspiracy against rights. Deprivation of rights under color of law. Also Code 2261, stalking. Also the 1st, 4th, and 13th Amendments. It's a RICO Act violation. A lot of stuff. Just to let them know, you know? They probably got told I was some kind of creep. I wouldn't want to talk to some creep, but I would also want to ask, you know, or I don't know, if somebody came to me, some guy in a black suit, knocked on the front door, and I had no clue any of this ever happening, and said, hey, there's this bad guy in the neighborhood here, check out this website, they got a fake website, look on here, just like whatever this person, whatever fill in the blank, whatever they say about you, that person's not going to come over and knock on your door. Hey neighbor, here's a pie, how you doing? I just wanted to come over and verify that the guy in the black suit with the FBI badge that just told me some ridiculous information about you that would make me never want to come to your house or even like look at you friendly or wave at you. You know, I wanted to verify that. You know, that's how the slander campaign works. So I'm hoping that some of my neighbors can get some of that information and look some of this stuff up and see what happened to not just me, but Judge Advocate Generals, fighter pilots, F-16 fighter pilots, Special Forces Colonel. Let me work for that guy. All right, again, I've called the LA Times. I've called the Inspector General of the Air Force, of the, which one did I call? I called the Inspector General. All right, that's my cue. That means I need to check out right now. Everybody have a good day. I'm gonna get all my stuff ready for tomorrow. Wish me luck. I have some things to turn in with the court that are not gonna make anyone happy. They could actually get me targeted further, but you know, hey, here we are. Gotta do what you gotta do. These people, some of these people paid the price for doing this to somebody. It just took a while. And it'll continue to go. California has the most indictments. If those are a real thing, I really hope they are. Good night.